So thank you everyone. Thanks for your time. We are live on Facebook. So we have been able to sort out some of the technical issues, but unfortunately our dean, Dr. Peacock, would not be able to join the session, but she's still trying to reconnect. So at the very beginning, I would like to welcome everyone and start. So may I just remind all of our participants that we're live on Facebook, and the Facebook page that we're sharing is the BRAC University Facebook page and GSM Facebook page. So at the very beginning, I'd like to thank all of our participants today to join GSM's very first alumni meetup session. So in our today's session, we have two very notable alumni of GSM, Farah Sharmin Aulad. She's the country head of PAX Coca-Cola Bangladesh. And we have Mr. Shahriar Jamil, who is a senior vice president of remittance and Provashi banking of BRAC Bank. So thanks to both of our guest alumni for making time to our virtual session today. And next in our panel, we have the Honorable Vice Chancellor of BRAC University, Professor Vincent Chang. Professor Chang, thank you so much for your time from your busy schedule to join our today's session. It's a real privilege to have you in this session. In fact, this is my very first interaction with you since I started with BRAC University. So I definitely look forward to interact and connect with you in more often in the coming days. In our panel, we also had the leader of GSM, Professor Dr. Arlene Peacock, who was supposed to join us from USA, but unfortunately she's having a bit of technical difficulties. So we are still sort of, in the process of trying to sort that out. So she might join later in the session, but if not, we will definitely carry on our session. And lastly, I'm Dr. Saim Hussain. I am an assistant professor at the Graduate School of Management. I have recently joined the school from Sydney, Australia. So I will have the pleasure to be the host and the moderator in this session. So for those of you joining the session through Facebook, thank you so much for your engagement. And you may put forth your questions or feedback as comments, which we'll definitely try to address in the later part of our session. We will have a Q&A session towards the end. And we're also recording this session, so we will definitely share this discussion through our social media feed, so you all can have access to this very insightful session. So before we move on to the individual part of our discussion and the speech from our chair, I'd like to reflect on the topic of our today's discussion, which is lifelong learning for continuous professional growth. Now, obviously, given in the current context, the world we are at, this topic is very relevant and warrants further discussion. So let me just start with a quote by a very famous writer that I follow, Alvin Toffler. And in his book written in the 1970s, he actually said that tomorrow's illiterate will not be those who can't read, but they will be those who have not learned how to learn. So learning how to learn is the biggest skill that we need to adopt these days. See, this idea of learning how to learn put forth 50 years ago still seems very relevant today. We all can observe that the world is changing at a very rapid pace, and evidently the jobs that we have seen only a decade ago do not exist, and new jobs are created continuously. So it suggests that only way to keep up with the changing pace is to learn and unlearn. So lifelong learning is the most important skill that needs to be adopted by every individual, whether a student or a professional in an organization. Before we will talk more about lifelong learning and hear some more perspective from our guests and Honorable Vice Chancellor, I'd like to point out that the term lifelong learning sometimes I have seen used quite vaguely and quite broadly. So we will try to understand lifelong learning from the context of the organization and probably from the perspective of academic institutions as well. So at this stage, I will invite Professor Dr. Vincent Chang to provide his welcome speech and also share some perspective regarding Graduate School of Management and also lifelong learning. Professor Chang, the floor is to you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon from Dhaka, colleagues, alum, students, and guests. I'm very, very pleased to meet all alums, albeit online. And thanks particularly to Professor Pika and her team for making such an arrangement. As some of you may have been aware that Bragg University has embarked on a path guided by new mission and vision and milestone and objectives. I have called it Bragg University 2.0. Why? Why 2.0? Because we want to be on the map of the world's higher education. Today, the reality is that even the quote-unquote best university in the country in Bangladesh is still off the map. There are many things we should do and we can do, but here I'm going to talk about 3 key objectives for the Bragg University in the next 5 to 10 years. First of all, we want to become Bangladesh's international university. Second, we want to become Bangladesh's student-centric university. Third, we want to become a university with impact. We want to become a research university with impact. First, an international university. I think it is safe to say there is not a great university in the world that is not international. You look at all those great universities in the West, in UK, US, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, Europe. They are all international if they are great universities. And we, Bragg University, we are perhaps the first university in Bangladesh putting internationalization as our key strategic pursuit. Why internationalization? Simply put, standards and exposures. Standard, we have to understand the gap. We must benchmark us against the best standard and practice in the world. Exposures. Exposure is really for students and for faculty as well, which allow us to broaden our horizon and even extend Bangladesh's soft power for future dividends. We are now part of many renowned international networks. Let me give you a few. Open Society University Network with $1 billion US dollar endowment. Association for Commonwealth University, which is probably the oldest university association in the world with 400 plus universities. Tawa University Network, 200 plus universities, including Harvard and Princeton. And of course, when it comes to business school, Global Business School Network, which include MIT and Columbia, and as well as AACSB and EFMD. So we try to engage internationally. Second, a student-centric university. As far as I understand, in Bangladesh, most university has been, allow me to say this, anything but student-centric. And I must say, we are perhaps the only first university in Bangladesh promoting being student-centric. So, for example, since my arrival, we have launched a couple of programs in the university. And I've been promoting so-called Bragg University 2.0 experience. And the couple of programs that which include, for example, Duke of Edinburgh. I think many of you probably heard of it. The name, the Duke of Edinburgh was initiated by Prince Philip, who just passed away 3 days ago. So Duke of Edinburgh program, starting from last year, we make it mandatory for all the students. We also make Bragg immersive program a mandatory. And that is the program, concrete program. For the decision making, I think most important is perhaps about decision making. And when I say student-centric, I mean all the key decision has to put student in the center. For example, since I arrived, I have met students many times in a town hall meeting setting. And I was told this is probably very rare in Bangladesh. And based on that, for instance, I kind of share with a few of our alum. I think in late 2019, we launched bus transport service, which would take students from around the city to the university. During the COVID, I decided to close the semester earlier without final exam. Why did I do that? Student welfare, student-centric. And because of that, I actually bear a lot of criticism from the public in general, initially. But at the end, pretty much all the university followed suit. During the COVID period, I decided to launch our online platform, which most of you are familiar right now, called BUX, Break University X, or BUX, which was the first, and I think perhaps still the only standalone platform, which address to some challenges and constraints, particularly to Bangladesh, Wi-Fi connectivity issue. Lastly, we committed a huge sum of money fund to help our students financially. And to share with all of you, so far we committed $7.8 million to help our students. So when we prepare to commit such amount of money, I'm talking about it in the last 12 months, we actually prepared to suffer a big loss, million dollars loss. But turn out at the end, at the end, we were able to manage our finance. And so overall, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So it was student-centric. Third, a research university with impact. We all know new knowledge come from research. And again, there is not a great university in the world that is not research focused. And Bangladesh, as far as I understand, most of the university are de facto teaching university. So we want to change a bit of that. Why do we want to change that? Let me give you a number. The total research output of the entire country, entire Bangladesh, is 40% of a single university in Singapore. So that is so basically the gap is big. That is something that we have to catch up. And I think perhaps some of you perhaps become aware. Last week, I just appointed a vice president research, which I think I was told he has drawn a lot of social media responses, quite positive responses. High caliber academician and try to carry Break University research forward. So what is the verdict so far in terms of what we have done? I think Break University 2.0. I must say, we, Break University, we have got noticed for our strategic direction. Within Bangladesh, I have spoken to so many stakeholders, minister, business owner, corporate executive. I think almost all of them have given us a thumbs up. So, at one point, I sort of claimed Break University, we were the leading gurus of Bangladesh higher education because we are going to the territory no one has gone before. But later on, a couple of months later, I changed what I say. I changed my claim. And I said, I was wrong. We were not a leading gurus. We are the only gurus flying, ladies and gentlemen. We are the only one. Also, I've received so many invitations for the interview, asking me to share about Break University vision and mission and strategy going forward. It's very interesting. Another example, a couple of weeks ago, our colleague and I, we went to visit a senior member in the education minister. And so the education minister basically described for us his vision for Bangladesh higher education. And he started talking about international engagement, student engagement, and importance of research. So at the end of the meeting, the colleague told me, he was joking, said, it seems to me this senior minister carbon copy the mission and vision from our website. So they basically saying, I think as higher education leadership in Bangladesh, they actually think alike as us. The difference is most of them are still thinking and talking. We are the one, we are actually doing it. We are actually doing it. Internationally, let me give you another example. I participated in one of conference a couple of weeks ago. I shared with the conference goal about Bragg University positioning and about our how we handle COVID-19. So one of vice chancellor asked me, so he asked me, so what is the secret sauce of Bragg University? And my answer is, no, we do not have a secret sauce. We simply do the right thing. We do the right thing. We are doing what a higher education institution is supposed to do, particularly in Bangladesh. So talking about doing the right thing, I'm also very mindful about developing technical skill set for the so-called fourth industrial revolution. So we started GSM. GSM is one of the product. We started a school of data and sciences, and we are in the planning for a medical school going forward. But of course, I think perhaps as our alumni maybe share with us, the most important skill for managing a career for the fourth industrial revolution, or even the fifth, or even the sixth, is not so much on your technical skill. It's basically a set of soft skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, communication, risk taking, and perhaps lifelong learning. And I think this is exactly what Bragg University 2.0 student life that I have been advocating for. Be true to yourself, be kind to people, and be curious about the world. So I hope at the end, our students, after they have navigated the utter uncertainty of the future, they may be able to refer back to their Bragg University 2.0 experience. Thanks for listening. I really treasure this opportunity of meeting with you online. And I hope we are able to meet again in person soon. I also hope today's meeting is the beginning of very good things that connect our university and our alumni. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Chang. In the absence of Professor Peacock, Professor Chang, I'm wondering if you'd like to reflect one or two things about GSM. On how would you like to see GSM, as we have got a very ambitious plan with the GSM? What's your perspective regarding GSM?
We all know. Thank you for this question. We all know that Bragg University 2 years ago, we have our business school program all reside in so-called Bragg Business School (BBS). And so I look at the profile of the research profile, student composition, and I start thinking about in order to make us on the map of higher education. Maybe I would not call it a shortcut, but perhaps a feasible way to make it happen in a speedy manner is create something new with a new standard. So that is why we created GSM. And with a focus on executive training, with a focus on high-end training, and with the faculty profile that is very distinctive, that is comparable to, for instance, to Hong Kong University, National University Singapore, even the best university in Australia, US, and UK. And at the same time, Bangladesh economy is really at a kink in a sense. Bangladesh economy pretty much ready to take off, in a sense that there is huge demand for management and executive training. and yet there has been no surprise so far. So I feel perhaps we can fill the void and not only able to capture the market financially, but able to fill the void about bridging the knowledge gap between the Bangladesh local economy and the state-of management. So that was really the thought behind.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. And lastly, before we let you go, because we know that you've got such a busy schedule, I would like to probably ask you to reflect on the importance of lifelong learning, as GSM is trying to become one of the dominant business schools in Asia. So how do you see the importance of lifelong learning as a very important tool to establish the dominance of the school?
I think if you look forward, I think we can find this information everywhere, online or newspaper. We all know 50% of job, 40%, 60% of job probably would expire, would become obsolete in the next couple of decades. So today's graduate, no matter what you learn, you probably have to learn the new skill set again. Whatever they said is, I really do not know. See, when I was a student, undergraduate student, I was an engineer student, by the way. I learned Fortran, later on, I learned C++, I learned R, I learned Python. I learned something new. And in my era, we even didn't have email when I was an undergraduate student. Not to mention internet, not to mention today used to Google, used to Zoom, etc., etc. So basically, you really have to find. I think my advice to our alumni and students is, first of all, you have to find what your heart's calling, what make you what interested in your life. So you can pursue that regardless the change of the environment. Because what the world will change, and the world will change in such a way beyond our expectation. There are so many economists out there, they can predict what the world become. I'm an economist myself. I can comfortably say, there are hundreds of thousands literature in economics field. The conclusion is nobody can predict the future. That is the conclusion. That is profound, so philosophical. And for those who learn economics, you will know, in the world, there are two kinds of risks.
It's working on this computer.
Yes, Eileen, we can hear you. Excellent. Back. Well done.
Welcome. Okay. Yeah. So, basically, you find what interests you. So you can. So you can navigate the uncertainty, number one. Number two, you have to be open-minded. You have to be curious about the whole world, curious about what is surrounding you. Give you an example, myself, I think you talk about lifelong learning. I was by training an engineer, electrical engineer. I studied physics. I studied PhD physics. And I went on to study public policy and then PhD economics. And as most of you probably, I really don't know how close attention, how much you pay attention to whatever I say in Bragg University or on the website. I never evolved my engineer and physics knowledge. You always use literature and poetry. So I think lifelong learning is that you just have to have right attitude and open mind. And you really don't know what will come next. You absolutely have no idea. If anybody will tell you they will know what will become the next 10 years, I'm willing to bet my dollar with you. Okay. So the only way is to navigate. It basically navigates. And this is so-called economics is so systematic risk, because nobody can, in the world, in a plain language, I'm going to quote what there's a movie called Forrest Gump. And basically what he said is, S dash happen, if you know what I mean. and in economics, we call systematic risk. In this part of the world, we call inshallah. So we have to prepare for the inshallah.
What a great perspective. Thank you, Professor Chang. These are some great philosophies, some great insights. And I really am so surprised to hear your journey in lifelong learning, because, you have covered so many different fields of knowledge, like physics to engineering to economics. So it does suggest how much passion that you have towards lifelong learning. So I really thank you, and especially from the GSM perspective as well, for your participation. Now, very fortunately, we're able to get Professor Peacock, because she was having initially a bit of issue with her connectivity. So I'm hoping she would be able to join us now. So I will now invite Eileen. Eileen, could you hear us now? All right, we'll try to keep connecting. I think she's found the unmute button. So Eileen, if you'd like to jump into the discussion, the floor is yours now. Excellent.
Hi, I just wanted to say hello, I'm on. I changed computers and I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent.
Okay.
So
yeah,
Eileen,
just now. So I missed the last few minutes. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Better late than never. So we had our welcome speech from our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Chang, and Professor Chang gave us some great philosophies and ideas about lifelong learning, and also about how much BRAC University is transitioning into one of the dominant universities in definitely in Bangladesh, and more so in the Asian region. So Eileen, I'd like to invite you now to provide your speech and just take the floor.
Sure. Thank you very much. My apologies for that hiccup, but I think we're okay now. Of course, it's still dark here, so my early morning time. So anyway, okay, I'm going to start right in and talk about the vision of GSM. And our vision is, and I'm reading this, is to be recognized as a vibrant player in the business school world. Okay, so then you might say, well, what does that mean? Well, you know, it means that we would be known internationally, worldwide, as a good school, someone that you would want to send your children to, someone where you would encourage your faculty to do research with, and of course, naturally, to be encourage industry and of course our alumni to keep connecting with us. So it's a tall story because GSM is now about 6 months old, and we house both the graduate programs, MBA and EMBA. I'm a new dean to BRAC and to Bangladesh, although I've been there a few times. But I have been a dean at University of Massachusetts, and I have a lot of experience with business schools in the Asia Pacific region, as I worked for one of the best accrediting bodies in the world, AACSB. So here am I with a brand new school, and 6 months in, up to now, I'll just give a little history of what we've done. The biggest, I think, honestly, the biggest thing we've done up to now is we've actually just completed a review of our degrees. So we are going to bring a revised MBA and revised EMBA into operation as soon as it goes through the approval process. This will allow us to develop lots of new materials and materials that we can use for our certificates and diplomas, which of course will add to the opportunities for alumni. We're doing strategic planning. We're doing quite well on that. We are about halfway through our strategic plan development. We're already doing quality assurance measures. We've started outreach, and SAM has done a good job with this, and is still doing a good job with this. And we are designing a new website. We plan to start an international student club called netimpact.org, which is connects us with many universities in the world, and they're all doing efforts at social impact. So I think that would be extremely good for our students. And in the faculty area, I started with 6 faculty. We now have 3 more, and we're still looking for more. The kind of faculty we're hiring are those with PhDs, of course, and mostly PhDs from abroad. In fact, all PhDs from abroad. And these people are publishing, and publishing well, so that we are getting known in the publishing world. So if I segue a little bit to our actual mission, the mission is to educate managers and executives to promote quality, sustainability, and entrepreneurship in this thriving South Asian city and beyond. So let me just look at our achievements to date, and this is in the last 6 months. We've had our first international conference, and that was on micro energy systems, predominantly renewable energy. Our partners were Carnegie Mellon and Tufts. We have a supply chain project, regulation of international supply chain project with Copenhagen Business School and Tufts. So we're developing partners abroad, which means we are getting more and more known. And this, of course, will help our alumni in any kind of networking that we need to do. In the entrepreneurship world, we have one of our EMBA teams entered a pitch competition in New York last January, and in fact, we won. So that was a great achievement. So that's really good kudos for GSM. So to the point of how does this help with our alumni and our alumni network and the issues of lifelong learning? We think, well, I think of alumni as partners. We do our best to deliver programs that they want, programs that they will help them develop in their positions, make them more marketable, and make you good at your job. So that's what we want to deliver: new material, good material. And we want to make the school something that you're proud of course we do. And then the more we can work with the communities, then we get our admissions will flourish. They actually already are. We've grown quite a bit since we started, and the quality, of course, will rise. The opportunities for alumni in the lifelong learning area, it's actually doing things with the school that will enhance experiences, and enhance experiences goes along with that the opportunity to learn. How on this partner side, how can you help with us? we have in-class guest speakers. You can be on judging teams for student work. You can offer advice on careers. You can help faculty with their research because they sometimes need data. I did that when I was a faculty member. I went to my advisory board and got data. You can be independent judges in the outcome-based assessment. I've experienced of that. I used to bring in my advisory board and we did roundtable discussions with students. That was one of the most happy times. The advisory board really liked it. And of course, you can be part of advisory boards. If we start the student club, that will require a advisory board from industry. And so we plan to develop an international advisory board at some point once we get our website in good shape. And finally, we want to contribute to the development of knowledge and the needs of the school. And I think that's where we see an alumni network working very well. We know we have alumni all over the world. And I think that if we can get the opportunity to meet and greet, even if it's virtual and hopefully always works, then we will, I think we will do well. So, I mean, that's a summary. And I open it up now to our guests. And thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you so much, Eileen, for providing a very knowledgeable insight regarding GSM and also how alumni relation works in the place of lifelong learning. Obviously, GSM is aiming to reconnect with all of its alumni and to nourish the relationship, because alumni relationship definitely is what will strengthen the university and foster a very prospective opportunity for both current students. So at this stage, I would like to invite our alumni. Thanks for your patience so far. So may I please invite Ms. Farah to just provide some thoughts regarding lifelong learning. Obviously, our aim was to understand lifelong learning from a deeper perspective. I wanted to reflect that lifelong learning could be seen both from an individual point of view and from an organizational point of view. So I would like to invite our alumni to probably reflect from their own experiences and also what do they think about lifelong learning. So Farah, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Dr. Sam Hussain, and thank you, Dr. Peacock and Dr. Chang, Honorable Vice Chancellor, to shed some light on the lifelong learning. It's a new concept for everyone, I truly believe, and even though we are experiencing it every minute, every day, but as a concept, it's something new as a terminology for Bangladesh, I would say. So, good afternoon, everyone who have already joined in the session, and hello to my fellow speaker. Lifelong learning, the concept to me is an ongoing thing, and it's a voluntary thing. And I truly believe it's something as a self-motivated pursuit for knowledge, and one can get it or do it for their personal achievement or for professional reasons or professional development. More and more nowadays, we see that, increasing number of people are pursuing further education, training, or some kind of certification that will help them to grow from the midlife or mid-career situation. And people are more understanding the fact that, a university degree is not only the ultimate, I would say, the level that you would expect once you have achieved, you're done for the future and the progress. I would say, from my experience, when I finished my undergraduation from our BRAC University, at that time I was thinking that, okay, I'm done with my degree, so I can pursue my career, I can have a job, and I can do and I can progress in my career. But seeing the situation and how things are changing at this point in time, I truly feel that, lifelong learning is an important element for anyone and everyone who's actually working or pursuing their personal aspiration. Even from the employer perspective, the way Dr. Sam Hussain was also referring to, and I believe my fellow speaker will shed some more light on the employer perspective. Employers usually seek for those workers who have this ambition to work and continue learning, and they have the right knowledge, skill, and the ability to do the job. Now, if I actually reflect on my personal career progression, which Dr. Sang was actually asking me to share with the audience, I started working as an executive at a multinational telecom where I was recruited to take care of internal communications and employee relations role. With my degree in marketing at that time, perhaps I did not really imagine myself at that point being an undergraduate to perform in that particular role. However, now I would say it was an opportunity for me, and I was fortunate enough to experience and embrace the change I was thrown into. Over the time, I continued learning and I started developing interest in the communications, internal, external, all fronts of communication. And gradually, I started to envision myself in the public relations field, currently where I am. The thought helped me to steer myself to work for organizations where I could learn the ins and outs of the PR field. My core is now public relations, communications, and sustainability at a multinational company. I must admit, while I was stepping out from my 4 years degree knowledge and exploring into the world of that time's not so popular public affairs and public relations, I'm talking about 16 years ago, stepping out of somewhat unknown terminologies, theories that I've heard to maneuver how I'm supposed to work in my career, I was a bit taken aback and daunting at the first, and I was unsure about my future. My continual interest to learn and never give up attitude helped me gain confidence, increase self-esteem, and adapt more easily to change. Through learning, I gained a better sense of who I am, what I have to offer, and what I'm able to accomplish. When I actually finished my undergraduation from BRAC, I was under the impression, like I was saying, that I'm done. I don't need to study further. Even I constantly refused my mentors, my professors, who were over and over telling me that, Farah, you are from the very first batch of BRAC University. You should be completing your master's and then you can continue your career. So I was under the impression that, okay, I have done my graduation, so I have some set of skills and knowledge, and I can continue. But as I was working in different roles in my 16 years, I started to realize that, through training and on-the-job learning, I had been adding to my knowledge and skills, which was essential for my career growth at that time. But after 10 years of on-the-job learning, I finally thought that, enough is enough. It's time for me to heading back to the university and to get my MBA, which was a long, long due. And I truly respect all my mentors and my professors who were constantly pushing me that, Farah, this is the time, Farah, this is the time. And then they never discouraged me. They told me that, okay, you're not late. You just start and then you will see that, how things are changing for you. And they were actually right. I truly feel that, it was an important step to complete as I experienced more. And that, we are in a floating data world where with a click, we can reach out to so many information available online. What we need to shine with is the right capture to deliver the right thing. The current situation has gifted us more of do-it-yourself culture, which we are usually saying that, okay, everything that we see is scattered and we need to gather all the right things and then try to use it in a right manner so that we can do our things better. So the ability to acquire knowledge on demand and learn how to do virtually thousands of things anytime from anywhere is the key to success. My degree after 10 years, again, gave me the right kit to do the DIY part of better. Thanks to the faculty and the MBA teachers and the colleagues, as it was like MBA learning is more of experience session sharing rather than book reading. And it helped me a lot to improve my DIY part. The lifelong learning, I feel, helped me to grow with my social awareness as well and have a better perspective to things and life, to genuinely understand and empathize with others and foster strong interpersonal relationship. It's important to seek out new perspective. And as I see from my journey, enhancing the skills that positively impact emotional intelligence can bring even greater happiness and success, both personally and at work. If we try to reflect on our learning, like, the Maslow's hierarchy theory that we all had to go through, ultimately the pyramid top says that, it's about life enrichment and self-actualization. And with time and experience, we all lead to the same direction of life enrichment. The capacity to learn is a cornerstone of motivation and human flourishing. Whether directly towards topic of personal interest or personal development, curiosity and learning can lead us to a more fulfilling and multidimensional life. And the era that we are in at this point in time, we must excel in multitasking with precision. The time requires us to learn continuously and give our 100% in our career to attain the ultimate success. So from my experience, what I see is these are like a continuous thing for me. Every day I'm learning. Even from this session, my interest was not to share, but more to learn. And so that, I can reflect few things to my day-to-day activity and do some better thing as we go on. So thank you, Dr. Saim, for giving me the opportunity to share my point of view on this lifelong learning.
Thank you so much, Farah. This was some great insight. And if we just reflect on your personal journey through lifelong learning, and probably I will try to connect our current students by looking into Farah's, life. Like if we look at like the track that she have had. So, she transitioned from a role that she started right after her undergraduate, and then gradually she transitioned into different role. And this was only possible that she was able to adopt the capacity of lifelong learning. She never stopped learning, which helped her to eventually grow. So for those of you who are listening, current students, it's really important to adopt yourself with the situation. And the only way that you're able to adopt with the skill of lifelong learning. If I might just ask all of us to focus on some of the jobs that are created, especially after the world has seen pandemic, and there's so many new things are coming along the way, who knows? We will see that there will be an influx of new opportunities and new challenges. Like in order to keep up in today's world, we see that data is one of the most obvious things that we need to be more literate. There will be tech savviness. These are the skills that we all need to be adopted. So in order to be able to adopt with this current situation and the changing pace, it's what continuous learning is that will keep us growing. So at this point, I would like to invite Mr. Jamil to provide his insight regarding lifelong learning. And probably I would ask him to reflect on the organizational perspective, because we would like to see that how lifelong learning actually helps employees to grow within the organization. So Mr. Jamil, the floor is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saim, Honorable Chair, Professor Dr. Vincent, Vice Chancellor, Brack University, respected Chair, Professor Dr. Eileen Peacock, Executive Dean, Brack University, and my co-speaker, Farah. A wonderful session, undoubtedly, and we actually learned a lot by this time. And the topic, lifelong learning and its importance to building a positive organizational culture is absolutely noted. And this is a word for the organization, because we know that lifelong learning can enhance our understanding of the world around us, no doubt about that. And it creates more and better opportunities. And we also, from experience, we see over the years that it simply improve our quality of life, because learning, it's continuous learning is needed throughout the career, because every day new things are coming. And just if I just stay in a just in a and sit on an idle thing, we cannot just move with the company. We cannot move with the culture. That's why we need to improve our quality every day. And we know that two main reasons for learning throughout the life is for personal development and for professional development. I'll go just in a minute that why I'm in changing situation, how learning is important. But before that, for personal development and for professional development, we already know that 5 benefits of lifelong learning. This is very needed for everyone, for the students, for the newcomers, students who just are going to graduate, who are already graduated. You need to just learn new things, just because stepping out of old, routines, because normally we don't like to learn new things. We like to learn in a single thing and we like to continue that single thing throughout the life. That actually doesn't work in the corporate environment. Every day we need to learn new things. And as I'm saying again and again, that continued learning helps to gain, confidence. Confidence is very important. And Professor Chang, Professor Eileen already, and my co-speaker, Dr. Sam, already mentioned that how actually it increases self-esteem, because we need to adapt more easily to the changes. People doesn't like to adapt in the changes, but we need to adapt. So that's why we need to learn. And in professional growth, and we know that why is learning important for success? Professional growth. These are the questions. Every day we learn, we hear, we just see here and there, every organization, why do you need to learn lifelong learning? Or what is the concept of lifelong learning? And how learning can help one's life? So that's why professional development helps employees to continue to not only to competent in their profession, but also excel in the organization. Actually, pursuing professional development ensures that knowledge and skills to be relevant and to become up to date, to cope with the present situation, to cope with the organization, to cope with the corporate culture, to cope with the day-to-day changes. And that's why benefits of building a learning culture is very, very important. And you know that organization always try to, some good organizations tries to develop their employees. That Bragg is the leading leading organization in the world, is the number one organization in the world. And we know that it's Bragg University, Bragg Bank, and Bikash. These are number one companies in the country, and Bragg is the number one organization in the world. Why? It's because they try to develop their resources, and that's why it is very important to develop the resources in a particular organization. Because if the organization doesn't manage to, the individual need to change himself or herself. At the same time, organization need to, create or develop or to arrange different type of trainings for its, resources. Because companies need to create and foster culture of learning. Because global organization knows that in the changing scenario, if they do not develop their resources, simply the organization cannot run. That's why the top companies always try to develop their resources. And I could recall that around 2 decades back, Bragg University started its a shower campus, and where they try to develop professional etiquettes for its students. And actually it worked at that period of time. I could recall that number of corporate heads visit once in a month and just gave a speech among the students, how they develop their life, how they develop their career, that actually worked and what the students need to do. I mean, right at the moment, GPA 5 or more than that, or the CGPA 3.5 definitely is required. But again, the learning, because we know that after the SSC or HSC or OA level, students need to fight for the, I mean, universities. So they need to learn more things. BRAC University already have taken a lot of initiatives, like they have a lot of clubs. This is actually is working for the students. That's why I would say that BRAC University is a little different from other universities. Just in 20 years, just in 20 years time, it's we can say it's one of the leading universities. Already, I would say that Professor, I mean, Elaine already mentioned that we have our alumni globally around the world. So we need to have some sort of, I mean, commitment towards our society, towards our, I mean, country. And that's why we need to, I mean, virtually get together or arrange some sort of arrangements for them, for the future students, because we can learn from them. They're working in different organizations. Good number of students, I mean, alumni are working in very #1 companies in the world. So they can definitely, I mean, share that why companies need to create and foster a culture of learning. And because I work for BRAC Bank for the decade and a half, and I see that every day it's changing. Every day new things are coming. Technology is taking forward. I mean, digitalization, it's coming up. So thing is, I mean, MS 2000, once upon a time, people just used to, I mean, go for MS 2000. Nowadays, they need to learn a lot of things, because otherwise, in the period of digitalization, we simply cannot cope. We simply cannot move. We simply cannot stay for a longer period. We cannot develop our, I mean, develop ourselves at the same time. We cannot, I mean, hold our positions. At the same time, we cannot go to the leading positions. When you are, I would say for the future students, you are coming as a leader, you need to, I mean, learn the leadership skills. And that's why a company or a university like BRAC University is developing, giving a lot of opportunities for you. And we see that now university have changed and massively, because I see the internationalization, the VC, the dean, the teachers, they're coming different background from different around the globe. And I believe I see that BRAC University will come or take its position in no time, because they have their initiatives. That's why, again, I'll come to my organization that skill sets is the most effective tool for any organization and to navigate or to cope the changes. Companies like BRAC, I mean, the agile companies always, I mean, to react in the changing environment quickly. That's why they are developing their resources. And we have our massive learning and development programs in BRAC Bank. And I see that every day we have some lot of trainings. And after in 15, 16 years in experience, we are taking, I mean, training in every day. And we see the culture is here and culture is developed through BRAC, and the board is very competent. They know the, I mean, changing environment. They're trying to build, they're trying to, I mean, create the resources to cope with the changing environment. That's why I would say that adapt to meet the evolving demands of the business, landscape. And that's why we need to adapt. We need to adapt these in the evolving demands of the business landscape. And we need to also leverage new ideas for the competitive age. So we see that the organization who are definitely doing well, those who are coping with the, changes, those who have the culture of development, those who are, those organizations who are always trying to, develop their resources. So at the end, I would say that benefits of building learning culture is immense, and a good organization, including BRAC University, BRAC Bank, Bikash, or other number of companies. We have our colleagues here from Pepsi. We have our colleagues in different banks, multi organizations. They are developing these, initiatives to, to cope the changing environment, and they are trying to develop their resources. And I believe that BRAC University is developing future leaders. They have set pools of, very smart and talented teachers. And I believe the students are coming from different backgrounds. The teachers definitely will have a wonderful relationship with the students, and the students and the teachers will work together for the future markets. And I believe that we are ready to support, we are ready to help, and BRAC University will work with its alumni throughout the world for the better future of its students. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shahryar. That was some great insight from you. I would like to probably reflect a few key points that you have highlighted. So one of the points that you mentioned is the excellence of BRAC University, and being one of the earlier students, you obviously have experienced that transition. And true to this notion, I would like to say that BRAC does have a global aspiration, so trying to scale it up as one of the globally ranked universities, which we are working on relentlessly. And part of that definitely is great alumni like all of you. And as you have indicated, we have quite a few alumni who are located in different parts of the world. So the reason we are trying to organize this alumni relation is we would like to reconnect with all of our alumni. And that will definitely foster a win-win situation, like a good relationship, and that will create new opportunities as well. In terms of the organizational perspective, I have taken some of your points. You have mentioned some very good areas, like being an agile organization. It's actually a terminology quite widely used in the Western countries, as I have experienced that being agile is the only way that an organization can improve. So being agile means resilient, learn new things, and unlearn old things. So learning is important, and at the same time, unlearning old things is also very important. Because yes, new things, new knowledge would always help an organization or an individual to excel and adopt. But at the same time, old processes and customs and traditions need also to be revised as well. So I guess towards the end, I would like to reflect on a very lighter note, because so far we have spoken about lifelong learning. We have very deeply touched upon several important areas, focused on the individual perspective, and Shahryar obviously focused on the organizational perspective, developing organizational culture. So for the students, those of you learning, a lot of the discussion may sound a bit too overwhelming. So I'd like to probably make it a bit lighter, that how can you practice lifelong learning from now on? Because the student life is probably the best period of life. If you ask each of us, because we're on the other side, because we have studied and we have seen all of those days, we can definitely tell you that student life is probably the best lives in our time. So in your time, probably the best you can do is few things. Try to learn at least one new thing every day. Like every day these days, like due to COVID, a lot of us, we are in a lockdown situation. We are more connected with our devices and technology. So try to learn a new skill every day. Another tool that you can definitely leverage from is social media. we can see that the uptake of social media has been rapid, especially after the COVID situation. So we know that we can use social media in different ways. It is a very dangerous tool, I would say, and it depends how you use it. Now, I would definitely advise you, and my fellow colleagues would also agree, that you need to use social media to the best of your advantage, that you can use not only for leisure time, but also try to use it for your professional and self-development as well. There are lots of channels and pages and news feed that will definitely help you to learn and grow. Because if you don't do that, you might just get inundated with unnecessary stuff, and that will not help you at all in your personal life. Adopting with the new technology is also one of the biggest skill that you need to adopt, because as we can see that the world is becoming more virtual these days. Like we are all connecting from different parts of the world. I'm here in Sydney, my dean, she's in the US, and some of our other participants, they're in Bangladesh. So there will be time when people will be working remotely from anywhere, any part of the world. So in order to cope with this, it's absolutely essential that you are tech savvy. So adapting with technology is very important. So that's also another lifelong skill that you need to adopt. I would say that health is also another priority, because from my personal perspective, part of my life learning is also my well-being, because if you're not physically fit, you would never be mentally fit. So part of your lifelong learning should also be how to look after your health, your well-being. That's also very important. And when I say health, I don't only mean physical health, but it's also our mental health and well-being as well. Because with the massive interference of social media into our lives, the issue of mental health is becoming a big problem. So in order to become a lifelong learner, you need to be also able to control your mind as well, so that you can use your mind as the best weapon, your arsenal. So in order to do that, you have to have enough headspace. If you don't have enough headspace, you wouldn't be able to learn new things. So you need to create headspace. And that's the reason you need to look after your health, and both mental health and physical health. So we have come towards the end of our today's session, but I must say that this is only the beginning of our alumni connection, because we will be conducting more sessions in the coming days. We will be engaging. Hopefully, if the world becomes more normal, we would be able to hold these sessions face to face, which will definitely enhance more engagement with our alumni. And we would also like to form an alumni association within GSM, through which we'd be able to connect with all of our alumni. Now, BRAC University does have alumni association, but we would also like to focus with our GSM alumni more specifically, so that we can connect and leverage from the network and the amazing connection and experience that they have. So I would like to thank our participants and our honorable chair. Now, towards the end, I would like to invite my leader, Professor Peacock, to probably say a few words before we close the session. There's a few things that I might say, because I was just looking through the feed, because we're live on Facebook. So we received lots of engagement and comments from our audience. We aren't able to address specifically to specific comments, but definitely most of the comments are praising about the session and encouraging for organizing such a good session. So thanks to all of the audience as well for engaging with us. If you have any particular question, definitely feel free to jump into the GSM Facebook page. We have a dedicated Facebook page as well, which I monitor with the help of our other staff members. So we will definitely get in touch with you, and we'll try to address all of your needs. And yes, it was a great opportunity to be live and being able to share some of our thoughts regarding BRAC, GSM, and the great alumni connection that we have. So Professor Peacock, if you'd like to say a few words towards the end before we close the session. You're on mute. You might have to unmute yourself.
Okay, good. Yes. Well, yes, thank you very much, actually, Sam. I want to thank him for starting this process. This is, I hope, the beginning of a very good alumni network that we can form. I do think that I believe we have about 3,000 alums. So, you know, and I know they're all over the world. So I think that potentially we have a remarkable network that we can connect with and learn from. And I think, you know, as a business school, that's what we have to do. And in addition, I think that we need to look around to see what we can offer our alums in terms of education opportunities, not only sort of listed as executive ed, but in more a bit of a general sense. You know, some years ago now, the MOOCs started that free connection for courses. And I do think that those are opportunities that we can work with. I do know universities that do encourage alumni to stay with them. They give them an email address to keep for life. They offer, when classes are not full, they offer spare seats to alums and so on. But you have to, you know, you have a process for getting them on the list and things like that. So I just think this is the beginning of probably an adventure for all of us, certainly for me and my faculty, and hopefully for you doing your jobs. And you know, we can work on all sorts of fan outs. You know, that we have somebody living in Canada that they can fan out to the Canadians, somebody in Australia the same, and so on. So, I mean, we can work on little hubs and maybe hubs of learning and so on. So I think probably with that, I will just again thank you for our guests. Thank you to Vice Chancellor Chang for joining in. I'm sorry I wasn't there at the time. But hopefully I'll get this voice thing sorted out soon. So thank you very much. And over to you, Sam, to wrap it up.
Thank you so much, Professor Peacock. Great to hear from you. So I would like to probably ask if there's any imparting words from our guest alumni you would like to share towards the end. Farah and Shahriar. Probably ask Farah at the end.
I would.
No, nothing from my. Oh yeah,
yes,
sorry.
please.
Go ahead. No.
Please, Farah, please.
Okay, so from my side, I would say nothing much, but thank you for this session. It is really insightful, and definitely it will be helpful for many students and alumni to share their thoughts and their how they're actually developing themselves. It's a network that we need to build up and we need to work on. And we look forward to the guidance of Dr. Peacock and Dr. Hussain in this regard, and we would love to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saim. Thank you, GSM. Thank you, Dr. Chang, Vice Chancellor, Breck University, and the Dr. Peacock. And it's simply been wonderful to meet with you. It's a definitely wonderful session, and we like to contribute in the coming days, and we like to get together virtually. And in this pandemic situation, we would like to see more and more sessions. And thank you, Breck University. We like to see into the new heights, and we like to see the new campus, inshallah. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks everyone. Probably towards the end, I would say that we started a bit late, but we're finishing up right on time. So we did prove our efficiency towards the end, finally. So I'd like to conclude the session with one of my favorite quotes. I'm a quote person, so it's a Darwin's theory of evolution, as he said that not the strongest of the species will survive, but the ones that are more adaptive to change. So our current students, and for those of you listening, adopt yourself to the change, and that's the only way that we can survive. So thanks everyone, thanks for your time, and we would like to come back to you again, and stay safe, stay healthy. This is the time to look after your health, so please maintain social distancing and all the other health guidelines. Would like to see you all healthy and in good shape. Thank you so much. We'll take your leave now. Thanks. Thanks all the speakers.